the Commerce Ministry is reviewing the situation. The delegation will have to take a call on when they're going to go for further negotiations. It's a bit too early for me to comment.
Press meet post Central Board meeting. We have with us Honorable Finance Minister Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman, Honorable Minister of State for Finance Shri Pankaj Chaudhary, and Governor Reserve Bank of India Shri Sanjay Malhotra. We also have with us the top management, our Deputy Governors from Reserve Bank of India. Madam, there are 25 participants from the media, and with your permission, we can now take questions from the media. Thank you, Madam. I'll request all media persons to ask only one question so that everyone gets a chance. I will request Ms. Deepshikha Sikarwar from ET to ask the first question.
Good morning, sir. Thank you. Sir, I wanted to ask about the, what's happened in the case of IDFC is from RBI, and is there any kind of measure that is being undertaken?
I will request the participants to kindly let us know who they are addressing the question. Of course, here it is very evident you are addressing it to RBI, but otherwise I will request all of you. See, we do not, as a policy, we do not comment on any individual bank or regulated entity. We are watching the developments. There is no systemic kind of an issue over here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'll request Lakshman Roy from CNBC Awas to ask his question.
आरबीआई गवर्नर से मैं लक्ष्मण CNBC आवाज से। मेरा सवाल यह है कि जो विकसित भारत का लक्ष्य रखा गया 2047 तक, उसमें बैंक के कितनी क्रेडिट ग्रोथ की आवश्यकता रहेगी, किस रेट से, और खासतौर से पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक क्या इतने कैपिटल के लिए इक्विप्ड है या फिर उसमें कुछ स्पेशल स्टेप्स लेने की जरूरत है? स्पेसिफिक सवाल कि क्या FDI लिमिट बढ़ाने की जरूरत आपको महसूस हो रही है क्या?
नहीं, बैंक्स के पास में देखिए बहुत अधिक मात्रा में कैपिटल है, जो आज के दिन में हमारी कैपिटल एडुकेसी समस्त बैंकिंग क्षेत्र की है वो 17% से भी अधिक है, जबकि जो रिक्वायरमेंट है वो केवल 11.5% है। तो अगर और कैपिटल नहीं भी आता है तब भी हम लगभग 5 वर्ष और जो है क्रेडिट मुहैया करा सकते हैं, जिस प्रकार से जो ग्रोथ रेट आज के दिन में है 10-11% की एवरेज ग्रोथ रेट रही है कैपिटल की, अभी आज के दिन में 14.5% की ग्रोथ रेट है। तो इस ग्रोथ रेट को बरकरार करने के लिए हमारे पास में 4 से 5 वर्ष तक का कैपिटल मौजूद है। आपको ये भी मालूम है कि पिछले वर्ष काफी अधिक संख्या में न केवल डोमेस्टिक बल्कि फॉरेन कैपिटल बैंकिंग क्षेत्र में और साथ ही साथ NBFC क्षेत्र में रिकॉर्ड इन्वेस्टमेंट या तो हुआ है या उसकी कमिटमेंट हुई है। लगभग 1 लाख करोड़ रुपया का फॉरेन कैपिटल ही इसमें आया है। तो ये इस बात को दर्शाता है कि हमारा जो बैंकिंग और NBFC का जो क्षेत्र है, जो पिछले 10 वर्षों में जो कार्य किया गया बैंकिंग क्षेत्र के द्वारा, RBI के द्वारा, गवर्नमेंट के द्वारा, विशेषकर कि पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक्स में जो गवर्नमेंट के द्वारा जो कार्य किया गया, उससे न केवल कैपिटल एडिक्वेसी इंप्रूव हुई, लिक्विडिटी जो है बेहतर हुई, प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी इंप्रूव हुई, एसेट क्वालिटी NNPA आज के दिन में 0.5% से भी कम है, और साथ ही साथ जो गवर्नेंस इम्प्रूव हुआ, जो पूरा सिस्टम जो इम्प्रूव हुआ है, जो उनके अप्रेजल की कैपेसिटी है, कंप्लायंस की जो कल्चर है, जो कि ये कुछ एक सॉफ्ट चीजें हैं, उनमें भी जो पिछले 10 वर्षों में बेहतरी हुई है। तो हम बिल्कुल निश्चित हैं कि आगे आने वाले वर्षों में जो भी भारतीय अर्थव्यवस्था की जरूरतें हैं उनको हम पूर्ण कर सकेंगे।
धन्यवाद सर। नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम मिस श्रीनी चौधरी फ्रॉम NDTV Profit।
Ma'am, my question is for you. How are you reading the latest US tariff twist emerging in past few days? Any impact on the Indian economy are you seeing?
On the Indian economy, I think it's a bit too soon for me to comment. But on the trade particularly, aside from the Indian economy in general, the Commerce Ministry is reviewing the situation. The delegation will have to take a call on when they're going to go for further negotiations. So it's a bit too early for me to comment.
Thank you, madam. Next question from Deepankar Kumar from PTI.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, sirs. This is with regard to one of the announcement made in budget in 22-23 with regard to CBDC. After that, pilot phase was launched, and it's almost 3.5 years. Full-scale launch is still awaited. What are the challenges that RBI is facing, or if you could share the update on nationwide launch of CBDCs?
See, first of all, let me clarify that the CBDC is not for the moment. It's not a kind of a substitute for cash. Neither is it, a substitute for the other payments, fast payment systems or other payment systems. It is there, to augment these payment systems that we have in our, and currency systems that we have in our country. We have done a number of technical improvements in this regard. Right now, the effort is basically to get the technical and the operational details to be done, to perfect them. And in this regard, a number of further innovations and improvements are being done. For example, we are working on making this available even in offline mode. So unless and until we have the whole bouquet of features which are available on this CBDC, it would be premature to implement this on a large scale. However, at the same time, it has, you are aware, a number of additional advanced features which other forms of payments and currency do not have. For example, programmability. Because this is actually a new feature. So this is the feature, that we are again promoting in partnership with the central government and in partnership with state governments, wherever we want to make targeted payments. So that is the state of affairs insofar as CBDC is concerned.
Thank you, sir. I now request Ms. Sapna Das from CNBC TV 18 to ask a question.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Sapna here. Good afternoon, sir. Ma'am, to you first. You just now said it's a bit early to, kind of comment on the Indian economy. But given the state of affairs for now, how have you assessed the situation? It's a dynamic situation, changing almost on a weekly basis. So, what's your conversation like with the regulators? Can share with us over here. And sir, for you. Post your previous or the last MPC, are we given to understand that probably the interest rate tool is something that the RBI will not be using very frequently going forward, and it will be more, your focus is going to be more on the liquidity side with more liquidity measures, possibly? Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Well, the answer is the same. You only reworded the question, right? So it's a bit too early for me to comment. I repeat.
See, on the rate part, it's not within my domain. It is the MPC. The MPC minutes were released only a couple of days ago. On 20th, we released the minutes, and we will be taking a decision, meeting by meeting. So what the interest rate decision will be in the next, it will depend on the evolving growth and inflation dynamics. Liquidity, also, there was a mention in my statement, in the governor's statement, that we do after the MPC meeting on 6th, and I can only reiterate that for you. We stand committed to providing liquidity for the productive needs of our economy. And I will also like to state that it will be preemptive and it will be proactive. We will not only, in making our assessment of the liquidity requirements, looking into the leakage of currency in circulation, which requires more durable liquidity to be provided, but also requirement for reserves as a result of higher deposit and credit growth rate, because of forex intervention, which we do not to target any price or level of the foreign exchange of the Indian rupee, but to reduce the volatility. And then more importantly, the government balances, because they also fluctuate, on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. We will continue to provide preemptively durable liquidity, which are what is needed for the transmission of the policy rate to all markets, whether it is money markets, the bank markets, government securities, all these markets.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, sir. Next question from Shishir Sinha from Hindu Business Line.
Namaskar, ma'am. Namaskar, sir. Sir, my question to you, Governor, sir. With the change in the base year of CPI and GDP, are you going to revise your estimate? And also, are you also thinking about that inflation targeting range should also be revised because of the change in the CPI base year, sir?
So two questions. You are saying, will we change our CP estimate? Obviously, see, if the whole methodology is changing, then that will undergo a change. So next estimate that we give out will be in our April policy, and so that will certainly take into account whatever changes that have been brought in. We have welcomed those changes, as you are aware. They will help, I think, they better reflect the consumption expenditure of the Indian households. They will also to some extent, reduce volatility. So in both ways, the methodology also has been changed, so even that will also help, in better estimating the CPI inflation. The second question, as to whether the target should be changed or not as a result of that, that is still under examination by the government. We had we had published a discussion paper, we got comments, we gave our recommendations to the government. So now the government will be examining and very quickly coming out with target. However, I may mention that merely, because of the change in this CPI series, will it result in a change? I don't think so, because even though those changes in terms of direction are very material in terms of methodology, coverage, representativeness, volatility, etc., but they are not high enough. They are not, because the changes are there, but they are not substantial, only because of which there should be a change in the target, only because of this.
Thank you, sir. Next, we'll have Aryan Khanna from Informist.
Thank you. This question is to both Madam Finance Minister and the RBI Governor. A couple of years ago, the Finance Ministry had moved away from switching bonds bilaterally with the RBI, according to public statements by finance secretaries at that time. What has led to a move back to such a measure, especially twice in the current FY you've made large switches, and do you expect this to continue in the future? Also, is there from the RBI's perspective, is there a liquidity management impact from the switching of the GSEC? Thank you.
See, we have a number of measures in our operational toolkit for the debt management. This is not a tool, let me clarify, this is not a tool for liquidity at all. This is only a debt management tool. And effectively what it does is, the press had reported, that the gross borrowing has actually, increased a lot, which we try to clarify that is not the real thing, to be noting. The more relevant number is the net borrowings. So the net borrowings actually, increased only by about 20,000 crore from, I think if I remember correctly, 1150 to 1170 or something of that order. So this switching operation also basically what it does is it postpones some of the maturities which are going to come in. Next year they will be postponed further depending on the maturity of the switched bond, and the gross borrowing next year will decrease. So it's part of the tool. Now some of them are maturing, some of the RBI holdings were maturing, so that's why we have done with a switch with the RBI holdings, but we also followed it up with a switch into the market. So they are all part of our operating policy toolkit. They do not reflect any change in our operational strategy.
Thank you, sir. Next question from Nikunj Ori from Thomson Reuters.
Just 1 minute here.
We wanted some clarification.
Ma'am, any change in thinking from the Finance Ministry side because of the public comments 2 years ago?
Not at all.
Okay.
Thanks. Nikunj.
Good afternoon. My question is for the Governor. So the market participants have sought government's intervention on review of some of the bank guarantee collateral requirement norms that the RBI came up with. So that seeks to double the cash requirement as a collateral. So will there be a review on that? Thanks.
So we now, we mentioned even in the board, this was also discussed, FSTC. We now have a framework making a framework for making regulation. So before making any regulation, we publish the draft, we invite comments, suggestions, and this has been done, after proper consultation with all the stakeholders. And initially in the draft, I may mention, that this particular proprietary trades, lending for proprietary trades was prohibited in the draft. And after that, after taking into their comments and suggestions, we have not allowed it with certain prudential norms. There is no change that we are contemplating.
Thank you, sir. Next question from Mr. Ajay Mishra from Doordarshan.
सर धन्यवाद। सर पूरी अर्थव्यवस्था में महंगाई लगातार काबू में है। आगे जाते हुए खासतौर पर जो ग्रामीण क्षेत्र हैं और एमएसएमई सेक्टर है, उसमें जो हम लोग लोन देने जा रहे हैं उसको लेकर के क्या आपने रिव्यू किया है? क्या वो सफिशिएंट है या उसमें और भी थोड़ा सा बेहतर करने की उम्मीद है? क्योंकि आज ही प्रधानमंत्री ने पत्र लिखा है बैंकिंग सेक्टर में बंगाल के लिए खासतौर पर, लेकिन उसमें और भी इम्प्रूवमेंट का उन्होंने संकेत दिया है। सर थैंक यू।
ग्रामीण क्षेत्र और लघु और मध्यम उद्योग क्षेत्र हमारे लिए बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। आज भी बोर्ड में इसके ऊपर में चर्चा हुई। माननीय वित्त मंत्री महोदया ने भी उसके ऊपर में हमारा ध्यान आकर्षित किया, और ये हमारे लिए एक लगातार हमारा एक प्रायोरिटी एरिया रहता है। जैसा कि आपको मालूम है, जो हमारे पास में लेटेस्ट आंकड़े हैं उनके अनुसार 14.5%, लगभग 14.5% की वृद्धि दर दर्ज हुई है बैंक ऋणों में, और सभी क्षेत्रों में, चाहे वो कृषि हो, चाहे वो बल्कि एसएमई क्षेत्र में तो 25%, मेरे ख्याल से 28% के लगभग ग्रोथ दर्ज हुई है। तो अच्छी एक ग्रोथ वहाँ पे दर्ज हुई है आगे, और हमने इसके लिए कई सारे कदम उठाए हैं। बजट में भी आपको मालूम है माननीय वित्त मंत्री ने इसके लिए काफ़ी सारे कई कदम इसमें उठाए हैं, और हम भी आगे यूनिफाइड लैंडिंग इंटरफेस की चाहे बात करें, चाहे जो कोलेटरल फ्री लोन्स की लिमिट है 10 लाख से बढ़ा करके 20 लाख रुपए का हमारा प्रस्ताव है, वो अभी पब्लिक कंसल्टेशन में है। तो हमारा आगे भी दोनों क्षेत्रों को, सभी क्षेत्रों को, और विशेषकर इन दोनों क्षेत्रों को, ये प्रायोरिटी क्षेत्र में भी आते हैं हमारे, अगर इनमें ऋण बैंक देते हैं तो जो प्रायोरिटी क्षेत्र की जो उनके लिए जो रेगुलेशंस हैं, जो रिक्वायरमेंट्स हैं, उनको भी ये मीट करते हैं। धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद सर। नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम सुरभि प्रसाद फ्रॉम बिजनेस टुडे।
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, sir. My question is to both of you. It's regarding the prices of gold and silver that have been shooting up, and imports of silver has also increased, and the prices have also had an impact on the trade deficit and the new series inflation also. So just wanted your thoughts. Is it a cause of concern as of now? And just your thoughts. Thank you.
See, all gold which comes off the market is imported. In this country, the dependence on precious metals is very much from outside only, in the sense we get every ounce of gold which comes into the country is an imported gold. And we don't have our own source of exploring and extracting gold. There are steps being taken, but yet not sufficient to meet our demand. Gold has always been a favored investment for households, whether as an asset class or for jewelry. So a high-pitched demand from, let us say, the domestic consumption also sees a seasonal spike during festival season, during Akshaya Tritiya and so on. We are watching it, but I'm not sure it has reached such alarming proportions given the tendency or natural things as it is in India for investing in gold, buying gold, and therefore I think it has not gone in that sense beyond a certain limit. But of course RBI will also be monitoring it. Other than that, other than typically what's happening in the Indian market, it's also important, and I'm sure you from the media would have noticed, that most countries today, particularly their central banks, are buying gold and silver and storing them. It's a tendency when you talk of Indian consumer market, Indian households. Every central bank did have some, but of late you notice that many of the central banks outside are also buying gold. So international price of gold or silver, which used to be because of China and India being large consumers of gold, largely due to domestic purchase of gold, spiking up and down. Now the spike is largely due to central banks also buying and storing. And we as importers, therefore, for our domestic consumption, which is a usual thing which happens every season, every festival, every household purchase, is affected because of the global increase in gold and silver prices, which are much beyond the usual increases and fluctuations which happen in the gold and silver market. So I'm purposely bringing in the element of the central banks outside, domestic consumption within the country, the pattern within the country of gold purchases, and the cause for that unbelievable spike in gold and silver prices, which are largely because of the investments in big numbers by central banks outside the country to store. So my observation is to bring in the central bank is for saying as to why globally it is shooting up.
Let me add that if you look at numbers from April to December, the quantity of gold, I mean, in value terms there was hardly any increase. I think about $1 billion or so against 50 billion. It increased from 49 to $50 billion. So till December, value terms didn't increase despite increase in prices, because whatever was the increase in prices was offset more or less by the decrease in the volumes of imported gold. It's only in January, we are still analyzing those numbers, that there has been a sudden spurt in value as well as in volume. As the finance minister also mentioned, there is a lot of fluctuation, seasonality in that particular demand. So we are not unduly concerned about that, especially because our external sector continues to be very robust and strong. The current account deficit is still very, very manageable as per our projections. It's within or about, the 1% of GDP range. The government has now a number of agreements for trade, international trade, that it has signed, so that will help our current account even further going forward. Even on the capital side, it will help, because trade and investments generally go together. Over and above that, number of policies that government has come out on the FDI side, latest being liberalization, opening up 100%, insurance sector, and then the AI summit, recently that we had. So many, I'm forgetting the numbers, some hundreds of billions of dollars being committed towards data centers. Earlier we saw, the tech giants, Amazon, Google, Amazon. I think the numbers that we had, they together they had committed was $62 billion. So even if, so now it's 250, earlier they had done $62.5 billion. So if even if part of it comes, and gross FDI has been very robust, even this year, good growth rate, last year also, this year also. So we have sufficient reserves. So external side, is very strong, and including, the domestic macro, even the external sector is very strong.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, sir. Next question from Tarun Sharma from Z Business.
Thank you, ma'am. My question on the budget announcement on high-level committees. So, sir, what should be the terms of references? Will it be included the restructuring of banks, FDI limit, and corporate governance? And was it discussed in today's board meeting also? And what was the discussion in the board meeting which happened today? Thank you.
You're asking me on government?
It's
both. It wasn't discussed in the board meeting, but I mentioned it, Governor mentioned it from his side. The mention also did not have anything to do with the terms of reference that will have to be framed. It was a mention that it's a good step, we need to do it, and only to that extent the mentions happened. There were no discussion, and particularly not on the terms of reference.
I don't have anything to add, but we welcome it, we support it, from the RBI, and we'll work with the government in whatever ways the government would like us to work, so that the banking system is strong, but continues to be strong and becomes even stronger, so as to be able to meet the needs of the Indian economy.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, sir. Next question from Sailesh Yadav from ANI.
सर, आज की बैठक में और क्या क्या बातें हुई जो आप हम लोगों को बता सकते हैं? और दूसरा सर, जो रुपी का लेवल है उसको लेकर कोई बात हुई आपकी बैठक में, और किसी तरह कोई कंसर्न है रुपी के लेवल को लेकर?
आज जो बैठक में जो भी बात हुई उसका हम प्रेस रिलीज सबके लिए जारी करेंगे, उसमें रहेगा। रुपए के लेवल के ऊपर में कोई बात आज नहीं हुई।
थैंक यू सर। Next question from Ms. Meghna Mittal from Money Control.
Hi, Meghna Mittal from Money Control. Ma'am, the recent developments that are happening, we are seeing in the US, have they nullified all our efforts that went into this finalizing of the trade deal with US? And it has brought back a lot of uncertainty that we were hoping to do away with on the global level. So is that uncertainty a worry again now?
Uncertainties have continued to be a worry always, and I wish whenever the agreement gets done, and I don't see that being the only reason to abate any uncertainty. Uncertainties can come and go, so that's all right. We are on a very clear path of wanting to have trade deals done. We have done it with the EFTA countries, we have done it with Australia, we have done it with New Zealand, with UAE, with Qatar, with Oman, and also with the United Kingdom, now with the EU. So therefore our attempt to have a trade agreement will go on with countries, and therefore because we want Indian economy to have the advantage of trading globally and being able to reach global markets. So that will go on.
Thank you, madam. Next question from Jyotsna Singh from Financial Times. Okay. We'll move on from Prasanta Sahu from Financial Express.
To the Minister and Governor, both Finance Ministry and the Reserve Bank of India were working on National Financial Information Registry for some time back. We heard about that. So what is the status on that? Is that bill coming or it is being dropped?
No, the bill is, we have had multiple rounds of discussion with the government and with all the stakeholders, and most of the contours and the framework of the NFIR have been finalized. We are giving final touches in RBI. After having done that, we will send our proposals, our comments, our suggestions to the government, and the government will take it forward. I don't think it has been shelved.
Thank you, sir. Next question from Gopi Shah from IANS.
This question is for ma'am. Ma'am, is there any specific plan to reduce capital outflow?
Thank you, ma'am. Next question from Anchal Magazine from Indian Express.
My question is for sir. India has reduced investment in US securities by over 18% in 2025. So is this calibrated reduction and an increase in gold holdings a conscious strategic buffer against the uncertainty in the US?
There is no conscious call to reduce our holdings in the US securities. I think what you are referring to is the increase in gold holdings because of changes in valuations. So most of these changes that you are saying is because the valuations of gold have changed, or that of even other countries have changed as a result of the change in the exchange rate between US dollar. US dollar has, as you are aware, it's weakened. So most of the changes that you have seen are because of changes in valuation.
Thank you, sir. Next question from Vikas Dhoot from Business Standard.
Hi, ma'am. Hi, sir. Just a quick thing on this. We're seeing an improvement in credit growth from banks across sectors in recent months. But there is a challenge banks are facing on, keeping up on the deposit side. The CD ratios are at almost record highs for several lenders. So do you see whether any discussions on this, especially ma'am had earlier said that, banks must focus on their core banking operations, and RBI has sort of announced proposed curbs on, third-party product selling by banks, so that, the focus of core banking remains. So were there any measures discussed on how do we help banks mobilize more deposits, including maybe rationalization of the small savings rates?
Deposit growth as credit has, both of them go together. Mostly credit growth rates and deposit growth rates, they go together. They are very highly correlated. Every credit, rupee of credit creates, a rupee of deposit. But there are business cycles, right? There are leakages, as a result of which the growth rates for short periods of time of the two, deposits and credit, can change and can be dissimilar. So it's a natural thing. Deposit rates have gone up now because credit rates had gone up, credit growth rates had gone up. Deposit rates have also now, gone up. They are about 12.5%. They had gone down to single digits. Moreover, other than deposits, there are other means of borrowings that the banks rely on. The banks will be in full position to meet whatever are the credit needs. There was a question on capital adequacy, so they are, they have sufficient capital to raise more funds, and so they are very well positioned to be able to meet the needs, credit needs of our economy.
Thank you, sir. Next question from Siddhartha from Times of India.
My question is to both the Finance Minister and the RBI Governor. RBI has come out with regulations on new norms on mis-selling. Would RBI also want the systemic issue of higher commission in certain products to be addressed? And ma'am, has there been some discussion around the incentive structure for certain financial products so that the instances of mis-selling come down?
See, on the mis-selling, I've been speaking consistently. Banks should concentrate on their core business. I'm repeating this, and I've also said this several times to the banks themselves. From the customer side, I'm giving you a long-wound answer, purposely because you have to contextualize this. From the consumer's point of view, the customer point of view, the bank deposit holder point of view, the money lending which happens with the customer, the borrower's point of view, you need banks to focus on understanding their customer, their strengths, their weakness, the business cycle, if they are personal account holders, their needs, their requirements, and so on. One of the good and noble spirit of financial inclusion, particularly in a country like ours, where banks have spread all over. It's also because of, you can say, at one point in time when nationalization happened, banks were meant to go deep into the country so that they can reach all customers. Now from then the emphasis has been to know your customer, reach out to them, mobilize deposit and lend. Make your money out of what you've lent, no problem. That's core banking. Gradually, with the economy and the types of businesses growing, banks have spread themselves to do many other things, which is all right. I'm not against that. But they have reached a point, not now, a couple of years ago, they had reached a point where they did not have that comfort of the CASA money. And as a result, with the government also tightening on professional handling of the banks, performance, also making sure that the banks understand what the credit requirements are and so on, they had to keep lending, and inclusive of the aberrations which happened without checking on the security, you lent and whatever, they went on the other side far too soon. You didn't mobilize CASA as much as you needed or as much as there is availability. But you also went on lending, of course lending on phone calls, lending without asset backing and so on, that you reached a stage where you had no longer the comfort of the CASA, the cheap money which you have in your account to lend. And at the time when the government was also trying to restore banks to do their jobs professionally. So banks said, government said, I clearly remember telling every one of the banks which came to me, I'm not saying all banks came to me, but every one of the banks which came to me, that I shall not give the money for their requirements. Please reinfuse or put more money into the banks. I said, I will not do that. You become a better bank that you can go to the market and raise that money. And all this simultaneously happening resulted in a situation where banks had to tie up their lace and start running the race, but kept the CASA as not top priority. So in the last few years, I've been saying banks should go out there, collect deposits, meet with people, not just for improving your CASA accounts, but that is where the customer side or the deposit holder side grievance that, one, their credit rating is not being understood by the banks. They need an outside agency to come and assess them. And when an outside agency comes, they really don't know who is who in that village. They would say, what's a banking footprint, take that. What is his business? Take that. Look at the economy in general. Is this business doing well? Give them a credit rating on that basis, which the individual customer felt that he's being treated very, very indifferently and not truly to his credit requirement or credit worthiness. As a result, total impersonal approach to banking set in. Today what is happening is the banks have understood that government is not giving capital, but then they have improved their systems, they are coming and doing well. Equally, you had the story of mis-selling happening. My pet peeve has always been that you do your core banking business, you're spending more time on selling insurance, where it is not required perhaps. And conveniently it fell between two stools. The insurance regulator felt it's not his business because there are banks which are doing it. Banks are not under in. RBI, pardon me, sitting in RBI, I'm saying this, RBI probably felt it's insurance business they are doing, so I will not come into this picture. And they were right probably. IRDAI was right probably. But in between was caught up are their customer, the individual deposit holder, the citizen of this country, who kept saying, why am I being asked to take an insurance when I'm giving my property, my piece of land, and taking a home loan? He wants a loan for which the property is already there. So what is he being asked to de-risk? Why should he cover with him another insurance there? He already has a life insurance, he has a health insurance, he has something else, fire insurance. So as an individual customer, you had this person worrying about one more insurance that he has to take, despite having given this piece of land for building a house, for which he is taking a loan, EMI and all that. His salary is being given for that. So I've narrated the entire background only to underline the point that I'm glad that the RBI is coming up with guidance on why mis-selling is not going to be, entertained. And I think the message should go to the banks that you cannot afford to mis-sell. And this word mis-sell, instead of offending anybody, seems to be one more word in the lexicon. Mis-sell is an offense, if you ask me. Don't ask me under which section of Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. But it is mis-selling, right? Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry?
The issue of discussion among regulators on the incentive structure, has there been some discussion around that?
There's not been one such a discussion, and in any case, we'll have a meeting in the FSDC. We'll see how best we can take this narrative forward.
Thank you, ma'am. With your kind permission, we can have 3 more questions.
Look at the time. The others are waiting for lunch. So see.
Just very quickly.
Okay.
Yeah, Ms. Shweta Roy, very quickly from the banker.
Hello, ma'am. My question is to you. The government has been encouraging a lot of private companies to invest more in India's growth story. But if we look at the data, the private capex data has been falling to 11.2% of the GDP. I want to understand here what are the biggest challenges that government is facing right now, and what's stopping the private companies to invest more? Thank you.
Second question to the industry. First question is to the government that everybody should participate in India's growth story.
Thank you, ma'am. Next question from Subhash Narayan from Mint.
Ma'am, was there any discussion on bank consolidation, that roadmap that has been decided that further big banks would be created in the country?
I'm not sure or familiar with any roadmap that you're referring to. There isn't one, if I know. One. Second, no, it wasn't discussed. 3, bank and consolidation was not a subject here, nor was a subject before the budget. But the committee which is now being appointed, once the terms of reference are given, they will look into every aspect of how to strengthen Indian banking.
Thank you, ma'am. One last question from Deepak Mondal from the New Indian Express.
Ma'am, nowadays a number is highlighted with media a lot, that is net FDI rate. net FDI is continuously showing negative growth. So is it a concern, I mean, for the government or the Reserve Bank of India?
More than a concern, I think I want to, and I've been saying this, not that I'm saying this now. You think global capital funds move based on your macroeconomic performance, on your government stability, policy stability, taxation stability, predictability for businesses, and a law-abiding economy. You then expect the flow of the funds to move towards such economies. Now, the economic survey has also very clearly pointed out and raised this very important question, which comes from a curious mind, as I would say. All the fundamentals are fine. The indicators are very clearly indicating that next couple of years we will be going at that kind of a level. Stable government, taxation policy, everyone says that there's been absolute certainty. So you would expect the funds to flow towards such economies like India, on the top to India. But it doesn't come. It doesn't flow in that sense. So, in fact, I did mention this even when I met with the US-India Strategic Policy Forum, USISPF. So if this is the common principle through which the fund flows should happen, and it doesn't happen to India, I wonder what are the other reasons which are holding them back. Certainly they're not economic or commercial reasons. They're not reasons based on the economy and its strength. They're something else. They're probably strategic. They're probably global politics. We don't know. So the theory, as per theory, if the funds have to flow to India, we have every reason for the fund to be attracted towards India. But if it doesn't flow, all of us will have to see what is holding it back.
Thank you, ma'am. It's an important point when you mentioned correctly that it is net FDI. Gross FDI is increasing. Last year it increased by about 14–15%. Even this year gross FDI has increased, and the growth rate is also high. I do not have the numbers. It's because of repatriations of those people who had done earlier FDI that it's gone out, that the net has decreased, and similarly our people, because now they are feeling stronger, emboldened, the various measures taken domestically to strengthen our economy, they are going and investing more so abroad. So because of that, the net FDI is not as high as we would like it.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. With this, we come to the close of this press meet. I'd like to sincerely thank Honorable Finance Minister, Honorable Minister of State for Finance, Governor, Reserve Bank of India, Deputy Governors of RBI, RD New Delhi, officials from PIP, and members of the media for their participation. I wish you all a good day ahead. Thank you very much.